So the other day we went to lunch with Gary.
All right, so let's go ahead and call the board top order. It's 2:03. And then on attendance, we have Ed, Carol, and myself. And on mine, we have Doug and Bob.
No, just Doug for now.
Just Doug. So we need to make a motion to allow Doug to join on the
Exceptional circumstances.
exceptional circumstances.
So moved.
Second.
On favor? Aye. Hey, Doug, can you hear us?
Yeah, hey, Chelsea, the audience volume is louder than the board. I can barely hear Flavia. I can hear the crowd.
Okay, that's because we have an area mic for the Stony Brook HOA folks, so just make sure if you guys are around that mic that please.
I'm gonna move it back a little bit over here.
You can, yeah.
Is that loud?
Hear the muffle.
Yeah, because it's hard to hear the board. All I hear is what's going on in the crowd.
Okay. Is that better, Doug?
Yes, that is better.
Okay. Sorry.
Carol, can you?
Well, can you hear Carol?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Doug?
Yeah, it's still a little low, but
Okay. So
Usually we do it right here.
okay.
the microphone working?
No, because I don't think they're working, those ones.
These okay,
They're working
just
here, but not working out.
these are capturing the SD card. That area mic is capturing for the teams. So we're having technical difficulties. So outside voices today, please.
Okay, can you hear me now, Doug?
yes, ma'am, loud and clear.
Very good job, Carol.
All right, so the first item on the agenda will be items for discussion, which will go ahead with Stony Brook legal fees and invoices. Do you want to start now? You want to?
Point of order, just out of curiosity, this essentially is an improved meeting. We have noticed this as a board of HOA board directors for us. So I'd like to just call this meeting to order if that's not a problem, okay?
Because we got more in the quorum.
Yeah. And so to make it official, legal and everything, this is an official board meeting. And call the order at 2:05 and a special workshop at the district offices. And all right, well, in any case, I don't have an agenda, but we'll have a couple of things to discuss. Anybody have anything to say before we start that? All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so the first item will be the Stony Brook legal fees and invoices discussion. So Tony, do you want to go over and explain that, or you want Chelsea to go over? I think we'll just go to you, right?
Yes, and I think that, again, if you look at the entries, you can hear me. The entries, these are examples of various statements and invoices to the district for a separate purchase order that's been set up for my work and legal activity and billing with regards to matters solely attributable to and involving the Stony Brook Gateway community.
Out loud, Tony. Loud.
Oh man, I can do this now. I can shout.
Yes.
Is this Buffalo Bills? Makes you want to shout. Or we can score. So these are examples of the typical bills.
Pause. Mr. Gefford is online if you'd like to.
Okay, so I need a motion for allowing I'll make a motion for allowing Mr. Gefford to fully participate in the meeting remotely due to exceptional circumstances.
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
With regards to the Stony Brook items in the agenda pack and reading book are some copies of various statements and invoices provided to the district for services rendered solely for activity within the Stony Brook community, a Gateway community. And if you notice, there's our account number has a subfile. The main file for Gateway is our law firm's file number 7689. And when we have discrete projects or items or matters, we assign additional numbers to it. That's why this is 7689.021. By way of example, Pelican Reserve has 7689.018, and .001 is water. You don't want to hear all of them. We only have okay. No, so as I go along and I work on a project or make phone calls, prepare letters, attend meeting, I assign them to and track them to tabs timekeeping system to the various projects or various discrete billing areas. And so that's what these revolve around, and I think they're pretty self. I try to provide as much detail as possible without going overboard. And hopefully they have, you can see what the work is relating to with regards to Stony Brook. For example, if it follows something generally with Gateway Boulevard up in the Stony Brook area, and it's not Stony Brook specifically, like we had the Track B14 issue or other issues, then that would show up in either transportation section, utility bill, or just Gateway generally. But when you have Stony Brook discreetly, as you can see here, it's focused primarily on the roadway issue and those issues that we had with regards to the gatehouse operations. So that's unique to the Stony Brook and Gateway community. So I don't know if the board has any questions or after if they have a chance to review.
Flavia, we have 4 items listed in the background, which Joe, please confirm that these are the 4 items, I believe, that are the outstanding ones here.
Okay.
These are the items for this discussion. And I don't know if you want to go one by one, Flavia, through them, and we can talk. Okay, so the first one is Stony Brook solely paying for legal counsel for the road turnover. That is the first item under consideration.
Well, now, we're talking about 2 different road situations or property situations. When you say road turnover, you're talking about Stony Brook and the road with roads within the side.
Yes, with regards to the AGO opinion.
And the efforts, we're trying to work with the county attorney's office in the past, and other work solely related to the roads and streets involved inside Stony Brook and Gateway. Yes.
Can I respond at this time to that particular point? One of the things that was discussed, brought to my attention.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, Doug.
Yeah, hey, give me 1 second. Let me open up, and then you might then you can come over tops if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to give a little bit of history on this from a board's perspective. So I can't remember exactly how many years ago it was, but we have had board discussion around the roads in Stony Brook, and it was the board's point, or at least our initiative or efforts, that started the conversation with Tony and Stony Brook around taking over the road. So we brought that up in the boardroom, and then we pursued different options in talking with Stony Brook on taking over the road. So this has been something, and I think Tinkle might have even originally expressed interest in giving those roads back to Stony Brook through one method or another, or whatever was feasible. So we engaged Tony to start do some effort in this. Now, I think the efforts from this year is a little bit more specific to some very specific items, but I want to make sure that the board, and it's on the record, that the initial interest and effort in Stony Brook taking over the roads, or us conveying the roads, or however you want to state it, was initiated by this board. It's my opinion that because there was a mutual benefit, that we should have a 50% responsibility, at a minimum 50% responsibility in the attorney fees. So I'll stop there, Joe, and I'll let you say what you need to do, and then if the board needs to make other remarks.
So let's have it all on board, and then we'll go back to Stony Brook. So while I understand and I respect that, and I don't disagree, I think the action that we took and the decision that this board made, it was initiated this time around by the Stony Brook. It was, I remember very vividly, it was during budget time. We wanted it to utilize the reserves and the methods that we're using for the entire 01 account. And they came to us and said, look, it's going to be a huge increase. You know, it started with that $10,000. And we said, well, the rules don't apply to everybody. 01, 04, same method across the board. And then they stated that, look, we're planning to take the road back. And if I remember correctly, that's when Ed said, well, we want that in writing, and then we'll be willing to, you know, work with you during the budget time to reduce all those costs and reduce all those items. So yes, past history was initiated by the Board of Supervisors, but this, what's on the table right now, it was initiated by Stony Brook HOA because they wanted to work with this board during the budget time, because they did not want to have that huge increase, and in good faith, we accepted it because we had it in writing that they were going to work to take the roads third over. So that's really what the action and what brought us, all of us here now. The past is the past, and if it didn't work then when the road turned over, or if it did, it didn't matter. This is my recollection of this is now. And is that?
Yeah, the main thing was that when this started was that we were of the opinion that the road was not being handled correctly relative to primarily the guardhouse and entrance. What you were doing was illegal. We thought we could get rid of it by simply taking over the road. We got denied by the Attorney General, you all know that history. And then the thing sat for some time, and then I don't remember around exactly what it was, but something came up that brought it to life again. Maybe it was a possibility, Tony, you had said something or heard something from somebody that, hey, maybe there is a door that can be opened to get a second Attorney General's opinion to be able to take this over. Our original thought was, after we found out the Attorney General said no, we had that idea of going through the county, which still would work, but it's a lot of extra work and expense if it's not necessary to do. But the whole reason all of this started was the fact that we were operating a public road up there as if it was a public or a private community. And that's just not correct. We can get in a lot of trouble for that. So that's why we were doing it.
Okay,
To initiate.
I have some things.
Do you have any comments?
No.
Okay, so then I'll.
Yeah, and I just want to say it really quick. I mean, and there was probably some other benefits to the district by us not having those roads, assuming to Stony Brook. But I will say my position is we're still operating under a mutual benefit on both sides. So that's why I think any legal fees should be split, because even if we're going back and doing additional work, it's still, council is still operating on behalf of a mutual benefit of both Gateway and Stony Brook. And I'll go on mute.
I'd like to make a comment about
Just identify yourself first, please. We don't have cameras.
Margaret Feinberg, Stony Brook at Gateway. I'm the board secretary. I thought all of this came up the second time, Ed, because you contacted Cecil Pendergrass and you were talking to people at the Department of Transportation at the county. And then you contacted Joe and stated, hey, I think there's an avenue for you guys to take over the roads. It's not taking them back, because we've never had them. It was turning the CDD, being able to turn them over to Stony Brook. So you approached Stony Brook. It wasn't the other way around that we approached you. We had concerns about having.
We were trying to avoid shutting down the guardhouse. You want to be blunt. That's where we were at. We tried to avoid shutting.
That's where you were at, but don't say that's where the CDD and the rest of the board was, because
I
that's
believe-
not true.
I never had anybody contradict that, let's put it that way. Nobody said a word in contradiction to
I
that.
think Tony
Nobody.
said you can't do that.
Who, do what?
I believe Tony said you can't do that.
We can't do what?
You wanted to tear the guardhouse down. He said.
We wanted to close it, just close it. It's not, it's a public road.
That's,
You can't
but
do
it's
that.
irrelevant to this.
I don't want to get into an
You're
argument over that.
stating that.
Chair, we're getting
We approached
As a sort of thing on a topic,
If
so
it had
can
not
you go
been-
back on the topic of the invoicing?
Well, if it had, yeah, I'm going back right
Yeah.
here. The fact is, if it hadn't have been that issue of the guardhouse and the problems we were having, there's a very good chance we wouldn't even been talking about this issue. Very good chance.
Going to the budget.
But right now, I've got a real problem in taking this and having any of this picked up by the residents, my 1,500 residents in my community. We don't have a dog in this fight. We shouldn't be paying for it. And if what you're saying, Joe, this goes back to the district, it goes back to the 001, my communities, what they do? They did nothing. Why should they be paying for it? It would be like having you at Stony Brook picking up the tab for stuff that's in Gateway Greens that has nothing to do with you. You'd be screaming like a pig under a gate. I'm totally against. This is a cost that's associated with a mistake made 10, 15 years ago that we ever turned this over in the first place. That's water over the dam, nothing we can do about it. That was a major mistake, major mistake. Board should have never, ever done that. Or if they did, they should have had a drop dead date on it. What we've done is we've just kicked the can down the road and lived with it.
Well, the
Again, if it weren't
CDD
for that
accepted the
building-
roads from Lennar.
I'm sorry.
You accepted the roads from Lennar.
Yeah, I'm not getting into that. My issue is that it shouldn't have happened. The fact that we ran into a problem with the way it was being administered on behalf of a public road that we own is, in my opinion, the problem.
You don't own the roads, Ed. They're not, publicly, you do not own the roads. You don't have title. You tried to sell it, you couldn't sell it because you don't have
Okay, so hold
title.
on. We don't stay on
First
topic,
of
or
all, I disagree. We've had this conversation a bunch of times.
multiple times,
Okay,
exactly.
and so,
Well, let me say this, because Doug made a statement before. Essentially, I agree with the history that he referred to. And I know, Ed, you know you've been contacting me for many years to take over the roads, and I have proposed that to our community, and they refused. They were members of our board that did not want to go that path. And I would tell you, even when I started to come around to understand some of the benefits to us, it was still a tough sell. It wasn't until some things happened recently that really brought this to the head. And I'm not sure we want to really talk about all those things that really brought this to the head, because some of it has to do with our operations and management agreement as well as the budget and how it was handled. But that's not the discussion for right now, as I understand it. But the fact of the matter is that Tony represents the district. The benefits go to the district. We have our attorney that we pay, representing us, and we're paying for that. As far as Tony goes, you have to be very careful. If Tony's getting paid from both sides of this particular discussion, are you opening him up to a possibility of conflict of interest?
can I answer that? No. I do not represent Stony Brook. I do not represent.
Okay, well,
the
if you're
residents. I do not
charging us.
represent the association. I represent the Gateway Services Community Development.
Okay, then maybe we shouldn't be getting charged.
So this first bullet point, we have 4 bullet points to get
I
through.
know.
So the first bullet point is with regards to, I think Mr. Banks mentioned, Doug, I don't know if you want to restate what your suggestion was with regards to these invoicing for legal counsel for the road turnover?
So my position on this is there is a shared benefit. There is a benefit to Gateway District by not having this road. It's cost, responsibility, risk, liability. So there's a very defined benefit to Gateway. There's also a defined benefit to Stony Brook. By that, I think it's a shared cost for Tony's legal fees. Now, I also, when I look at Stony Brook having Katie or their own HOA counsel, no problem with that. If you want to have checks and balances, that's fine. But to me, that should be paid out of the HOA for a couple reasons. One, if you're paying for that out of the 004 fund, then that becomes public record, which I don't think the HOA would want to do. I think you want to keep that separation between your counsel that is retained and employed by the HOA and shouldn't have any really overlap into the district responsibility. And that would be secondary opinion on top of what Tony's doing. So my recommendation, because there's mutual benefit, is that we split Tony's fees 50-50, and anything.
Is that your motion?
Anything that
It's no motion. It's
Oh,
a workshop.
yes.
So-
it's a workshop. We can't do a motion here. But the only thing I would add is whether in the future, because I don't know if I look at Stony Brook's HOA budget, I don't know if there's a line item in the 004 for legal fees, if that is specific for just district legal. But if we pay Stony Brook's attorney out of the 004, then all that becomes public record, which I'm assuming that the HOA board would know that. But my recommendation would be to keep that separate, and you pay for your own legal fees out of your own HOA fund.
Okay, so for with regards to the first bullet point, we have Tony's time as of right now. That has been charged to the 004 fund with regards to the road turnover.
What is the total amount again?
Which was $6,400, something like that.
I'd have to pull it
No,
up
it'd
and
be, for
calculate
the
it.
first one was, 3,700 for 2 months, November, December.
I'm looking at 4
Yeah,
invoices
because I'm
here.
looking at
and they
invoices
look
too. I have to
them.
add them
Looks
up.
like about
Got 2 more?
64.
Well, and I don't know that we've even sent the AGO off. I think we're waiting on some items, but
Yeah, I
Well,
recognize
there's-
some of this also had to do with K-House operation, different and apart from the Attorney General's request.
okay. So
There's some
Keep
different-
those separate.
Yeah, so the first question is
So
the
we have to
AGO.
separate everything, this is not separated.
Okay.
Okay.
So generically, does the board want to keep Tony's time and expenses with regards specifically to the AGO opinion request for the roads within Stony Brook, charge that to the 004 or to the general fund, either 100% one way or the other, or split it 50-50?
So right now, you guys would like to half out of 04 and half out of 01?
Do we have any opinions here?
Or is it gonna be half out of their HOA and then half out of 01? Because those are technically the other two options.
These are Tony's
Yeah.
bills. I would,
I don't know how you're gonna do it out of the HOA.
Yeah, so you have to
Right.
go 04 and
No,
01.
no, you do it, Tony's fees come out of half 001, half 004 for road turnover, because it's a specific item. That's what the 004 fund is for around legal expenses.
But
That's
it would be half of the applicable cost, not half.
only for
These costs need to be
bullet point, yeah. So for bullet point 1, which is the road turnover fees, would be split. Half would come out of 001, half would come out of 004.
all right, so let's pause and let's give the HOA the opportunity to weigh in.
Okay, just to remind everyone that Stony Brook does pay the full boat into the 001 fee that you and Tony, but no, it's not like we're not paying for him as an employee of the district, as a staff
Just gonna-
member.
Yeah,
We
we
are.
understand that. It's a smaller percentage of the 01 because divided with all of us, and then 04 is a bigger percentage because it's only divided by you guys. I get that.
Actually, we pay 68% of our money goes into the 001 fund. I know sometimes I've heard others say 14% for them, but we pay 68% into the 001 fund direct. You guys pay 100%, but it's only because we pay that much more with the 004 added on. You can do the math, I've done it.
I'd just like to make a recommendation. I think that the 50/50 is fair,
01 is the same.
and I think it's a good compromise.
I can live with
That's
it.
my opinion.
We all pay the same in the 001.
Yeah, not everybody, that's not true.
Everybody. You have a different allocation in that you have the 004. But my 001 that all my 1,500 residents pay is the same as your 700.
That's correct.
And that's what, yeah.
That's what we're
But I
saying.
agree with that 100%. I want to remind you of that, and then we pay to the 004.
That's correct.
Because sometimes we are expected to pay things because, I'll say it, Pelican Preserve does not pay directly the full boat into the 001. They have a different process, and that's fine. That was a deal that was cut many years ago. But the problem is when we get compared to them, well, Pelican pays for this, you should too.
Okay, so then.
That's the distinction I'm trying to make here.
Well,
Well,
you
you
can't make
can't.
a.
That's the
They-
you guys.
they-
We're in a board meeting here, yeah.
Well, that's true.
Because if they
Go ahead,
have a
make-
motion,
make
they
your
can-
motion.
At least they can at least work it off on the workshop. for the
Outside
next
voice.
meeting. This is Jason Thomas, or JT Thomas, Vice President Stony Brook. I'll make a motion to split the 004 and
With the invoice.
the invoices for
invoice.
Tony's invoices of the, towards the 001 and also the 004 account for the billable hours regarding the road turnover.
Todd Haffrell, Stony Brook, seconds.
Tony, are you okay with that language?
Well, you could.
Well,
This is us.
That's
I know it is. Well, before I call it to a vote, I'd like to make sure we're not voting on something that's not acceptable.
It's
Well,
not a matter
he's
of
not
being.
gonna be the one deciding it, it'll be us.
So
Okay.
second
It's irrelevant
round.
what we
All right, you got a second? All in favor?
Well,
No, we have
she wants
discussion.
discussion.
A discussion. Okay, go ahead, Angela.
So we had so we have a second, and we're open for discussion. I'm just concerned that what I've seen on billing, that we are still not in a position to control the guardhouse and control the roads to why we would actually be splitting this.
Because that's what we're working for.
I know we're working towards it, but they still have their name on everything. So if we're working towards this, why are we paying for it when they still own everything? I'm thinking about, next year maybe splitting it. But right now, they're 100% in control of everything that is owned, and we're just sitting back waiting, thinking that we're gonna take over this eventually. That process might be in the beginning, but I do consider that I still feel like they're 100% responsible until we actually decide that we're taking over the roads.
Anybody else have anything to say?
I think, like I said previously, I think this is a fair compromise.
And what is the amount that we're actually paying right now, legal fees?
Yeah.
And we only have an hour, so we need to.
Yeah.
I know, that's
All right.
exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, please, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against?
Nay.
Okay, we got 6 and 1.
So Flavia,
So we got the idea of, for.
for later at the regularly scheduled meeting, there's an item under town attorney's items. So
Okay,
that resolves one.
Done. So, reimbursement for the HOA legal counsel, okay.
So
Am I reading this one?
So the next item,
Oh, it's for their HOA, okay.
There
So
was-
that's what, okay, so that's easy. So that's what JT was mentioning about. So that's their attorney, they were like, guys, can you just
Guys,
focus on
guys.
one conversation? So that's their attorney bills that they would like for us to.
yes, that Vince came to a board meeting and requested
And
that
requested.
reimbursement through the O&M account for
So-
their attorney's fees.
Before that we even talk about that, I'm gonna just put it back on them, because they need to make the decision that if they're willing, if that's their request, then one of the criteria would be that everything has to be turned over to us. And then Tony still has to review it to see if it still applies that we could pay out of the old for your last minute.
Yeah, not just my review, but the board's review, and there might be additional items that need to be reviewed to make the appropriate determination that the work was primarily for a public purpose and not primarily for a private purpose. That's the guidance that's in the memo
And-
provided.
To clarify,
Yeah,
Nanette.
please do, because I'm not sure I'm following this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so Vince had come to a prior meeting requesting that Katie Berkey's time representing the HOA be covered with regards to the O&M reimbursement account. Nanette, can you tell me if those funds for Katie Berkey's time, have those been expended from the 004 funds? Two. So the district, through that O&M reimbursement account, has in essence already paid for Katie Berkey.
The one's in process and the one has been.
We're not
Okay.
on-
So ultimately, the question at hand is, does the HOA wish to continue with that request of reimbursement of Katie Berkey's time for whatever it is she's representing you all through the O&M account?
Therefore, making it all public information, which
Yes.
is one of the issues here.
Correct.
We have
And
talked,
still, and before even go that, even if they're willing to say, yes, we'll relinquish everything, Tony still has to review it and see if it still applies. Our legal has to look at that.
And the board.
And the board has to-
I would make a recommendation, and the board will.
They'll make that decision.
I have a question. I'm having confusion here. If the Stony Brook people, 700 and some units, are paying for the HOA, and they're paying for the 004, what makes
Doesn't
a
matter
difference? So
which
where,
one.
who it comes out of? What am I missing?
The Katie Berkey was hired by the HOA to represent the HOA. And so they're requesting reimbursement for her time through district funds. Through the
Oh,
through
for
the
So, but I mean,
004.
the same people are paying for it.
Yes.
Okay.
yes and no.
And right now,
JT, what is it?
and right now, we
Yes.
have, because Katie already retracted everything. So she already has billable time into it anyway, so. we do-
Redacted.
Redacted, thank you.
Yes, I
I
have.
keep saying it wrong all day.
Yeah.
So she already has billable time in there already, so even if we wanted to cover it in the HOA, the work's already been done.
Yeah, well,
The
that's
work's been done, but none.
not the reimbursement. The thing is that I have talked to Katie about this, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, did you not have a discussion with Katie about this subject also?
Yeah, because she was surprised that this was a request when I had that conversation with her. I won't go any farther than that in the public record. I think it's best, I think you're all best served by my not going into greater detail in the public record.
Okay.
Other than I mentioned it to her and she did not know that this was being requested.
So ultimately, we'd like direction. If your intent is to continue with that request with reimbursement, then this board and legal counsel will have to make a decision. If it is not, then you need to reimburse the 004 fronted account, but with
Just for those
HOA
two
dues,
invoices
for
that
whatever's
are
been paid to date to Katie Berkey through the 004.
Just the two that we paid.
Yeah.
We requested for. The
So
other one is
we're,
still live.
from the district standpoint, we're looking for your direction.
Well, let me say this. Katie actually told me she didn't have a problem with submitting the billing to the district, but she did have a problem without having the chance to look over and redact some of
But
the
I think
information.
that's, the decision that I need is from you guys.
I know,
So
I'm
you guys
just
didn't-
saying-
So then that's a conversation that you guys,
Okay.
should have had on your previous meeting, so you came in. So that's, I just need you guys to say, look,
Understood. The
are
question
we
is,
willing or we're not willing? Because then it's a new point for us.
So
Okay.
what we need to decide is if we want to continue presenting bills, redacted bills from
I-
Katie
Can we
to the
get
district
redacted
for
bills?
004, to be paid for
Sure.
out of the 004 account.
Yeah, and
Say
then,
yes.
That's
when
that's the question, correct? We're having,
yeah, I think if we decide to do that, and I think at that point in time, she was okay with it, and the people that I did speak to hear, not everyone, said that seems okay, and we thought we nailed that down today. I don't think she has a problem with doing that, and I don't think I have a problem with, I don't think I have a problem with using the 004 fund, because as we all know, that's our money too, as Ed pointed out.
Joe, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What is being redacted?
well, we won't know I think what Chelsea is getting at, assume for sake of discussion that the Stony Brook Board authorizes Katie Berkey, their counsel, to submit to the district redacted billing statements or invoices, then we would, Chelsea, look at it and say, is that enough to be able to make a recommendation to the board, or do we need additional
Well,
information?
and
We understand that.
You can send in redacted. that's-
One last point of clarification for the
Sure.
board. In the O&M agreement, the roads are not being overseen by the HOA. And this is, Katie's time is with regards to the roadways. So the HOA has full-blown, you've taken on the landscaping and the irrigation. You guys oversee the handful of items that are in the O&M agreement.
But not.
The roads are not included.
Okay. So then I guess the direction comes from you guys.
Well, in this particular case, the operation of the gatehouse and the contract with the gatehouse is handled by the district. And some of these
Paid
issues
for out of the
are paid over fund, and these issues really are those kind of similar issues.
Give this guy a call.
Randy, you're not muted.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, and let me just make one quick recommendation to Stony Brook. My personal opinion is I would pull this out of the 004, fund it out of the 00 or out of HOA, just to keep it clean. Keep a separation between your attorney engagement and the district, because I think that benefits you maybe today or down the road. That's just my 2 cents.
I
What
think
it's worth.
it's been done, that's been redacted. Give the gateway. I think all future stuff, I agree, it should be handled out of our HOA, and therefore, less billable hours for Katie, less work for you to go through all the invoicing, less work for
Yeah,
everything.
just pay it. So therefore, what has been handled that way,
If whatever's finished, that's already been paid for, that's gonna be for billable hours.
do you have any
get it
kind of a
done.
number on that?
And then once it's all settled, everything moving forward, I think it should just come out of the HOA. We have the money to do it.
I understand.
That's not out of there.
Okay. So just the 32.
Because there's a lot of work being involved between those two right there and our attorney.
I know there is. I know.
I think previously I talked to you, I think it was around 17, and I assumed going into this year that we'd go around 20. However, what we have to date that I've got so far in total is 18,045.
For Katie Berkey's time,
Yes.
and that you have paid to date, or between paid and outstanding dues?
Correct.
Okay.
And nothing from Darren, because I remember seeing the memo, and when I saw it, I think it was 11,300 and
That's right.
40 something.
That was the one back then.
that's the one that I saw. Plus there were Darren items there, because I remember the email from Tony saying, I got some of the information from Katie, but there's still all the items from Darren that was not.
Okay.
So it's not just one.
I think-
I'm in agreement with Doug on this one. I think it's in I think the HOA should keep those bills and pay for it, and keep.
Pay for out of HOA.
HOA funds, keep those records for them, because again, this is one board now, but that doesn't mean 3 years down the road, when it's gonna be different? I mean, just gives them, it gives you guys full control of your own
Well,
documents.
we're hoping that 3 years down the road, this will have long been water under
Yeah.
the bridge, so to speak. And I agree with Darren, possibly shouldn't be the responsibility because that's HOA property and maybe shouldn't. But in this particular case, when she's representing us concerning the actual property that is in dispute of who should get it, who owns it and whatnot, I think
Then it
that
doesn't apply.
that money there, we could possibly make a motion that if it's already been billed and that was the understanding, we think it should still go forward with the redacted bills that need to be approved. We understand that. You know, and they could be additional information, and if we can't give the additional information, then I can understand why it might be rejected going forward. But the fact is that if it's already was done under that understanding, I think we should get out of that 004. Keeping in mind, it is Stony Brook money to begin with, but and then going forward from that, relieving you of all that work and keeping it cleaner, we'll pay Katie going forward. Something like what JT said, but I think we got to state it cleaner. I agree.
So are we talking about the bills that have already been submitted to go ahead and leave those with the OO being paid out?
That is
of
what
the
I'm
004?
basically suggesting, yes.
Since we don't have any ownership of the roads, and they're all being handled, all this is being handled by the CDD, I'm not sure why we would relinquish submitting redacted bills from Katie to be paid for.
I can answer that because the district did not contract with Katie directly. It was on behalf of the HOA.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yep.
I just wanted the clarification.
I'm-
So the bill.
I actually agree with you.
So the two, oh my God.
It's 2024, we're moving forward.
I just took a photo of that.
Gonna get struck by lightning.
So
You're coming for the 3 o'clock, but it's a workshop, so you can sit down and yeah.
the two bills that are currently being paid for out of the 004 that
That are
agreed
requested.
to do that, can those remain going forward being paid for out of the 004, and then we split it, everything the rest of the way?
That's a board decision, truthfully.
No, split everything
You guys have to
from this
decide what
day
you want
forward,
for
Katie.
What I prefer, given that we have 20 minutes, I would like for you guys to make a decision on what you're requesting of us. So make your motions, whatever they are. And then tell us as a one voice, this is what we want. Because otherwise a back and forth and it's gonna be a bunch of opinions and it's a workshop, so we can't give you an answer.
Right, so I will
Make the
give,
motion and tell me what you guys want
Yeah,
and then we.
and
will
you
take that
can't
into
answer us yet right at this moment, but we can come to a board decision amongst us.
Thank you, that's what I want you guys to decide.
Just letting everybody
I
know.
will make the motion that we leave the two bills that have been submitted, the redacted bills that have been submitted to the 004 fund, that those remain with the 004, and then going forward, any other bills we get from Katie Burke, we get paid out HOA.
I second. JT Thomas seconds.
Motion made by Margaret. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so you got the Chelsea, so the request is,
Yes, and if that's board direction, then we can proceed.
but I'm just gonna know if you, what the request is. I'll still have Tony.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
What else do we do?
The next item, the next order of business is Stony Brook solely paying for legal counsel for Trek B14 conveyance.
Okay, let me just make a quick statement here, and my position on this is very similar to the roads. I think there's a mutual benefit on both sides, so I agree. My position is that we should be sharing that expense 50-50, regardless of what the outcome is. I think we've been participating in due diligence, which is mutual benefit on both halves. I think it should be 50-50.
So just bring in the back. So Stony Brook reached out to us. They wanted us to take over B14. we talked to Tony and we said, okay, we'll go ahead and do it. However, we will need to meet those criteria, which had to do with exotics and so forth. So they went out there, took care of everything, and we're ready to sign on the dotted line. They went and had another meeting and said, we changed our mind. So originally, my view is gonna be different again than Doug. I would have absolutely went with what Tony's memo was, which was we would have paid for because there was a benefit for Gateway. But since they are the one that decided not to move forward, then, you know, like why Gateway Greens, why is Magnolia, why is Pinecrest, why are they paying for this again?
Well, hold on, because after the last meeting, or at the end of the last meeting, I thought there was a discussion that at least the portion that was parallel to the road, that I could agree with the splitting. The other part, if they want to drop that, let it be and you keep it.
Let me say this.
That part that's parallel to the road is advantageous to us.
I agree.
But their board decided they're gonna keep everything. They want,
I
they're
thought-
not,
okay, I
no,
thought-
yeah, Joe
okay, I
mentioned,
thought that
but
this
they
was
made
an
a,
option,
no,
but-
they made a decision at their board meeting.
So it's
They're
all or
keeping,
none.
they're keeping B14, it's their stuff, they changed their mind, so I respect it, they changed their mind, but then there's consequences of them changing their mind, that's how I look at it. I don't think it's fair for all the residents in Gateway to pay for something if they change their mind. Not that they cannot change their mind, but it is not fair for everybody else to come further.
Can I interject something here now
Yes.
at this point in time? And I suggested at that meeting, it was a spur of the moment idea. I wanted to plant a seed, and I said I'd take it back to the board. And the board voted against me. And I'm going to be honest with you, one of the reasons they voted against me, and if they disagree with me, they can say it right now, is that the goalpost kept on getting moved. And it wasn't that we just said, no, no more. We kept on having more requirements to meet to unload the property. And we were looking at more and more money we were spending to give something away. This was like looking into a gift horse's mouth and reaching down his throat, literally. It was getting, they said, no, no more. That's what they told me. I suggested the idea of separating the two pieces, and I disagree with their discussion or decision to just stand the ground. But I don't think that necessarily means that this is a done deal, that possibly there might be some future consideration. And I'll tell you why. No, let me explain why. This is important. Because there were some on the board that thought that property had value, because if the road ever got widened, somebody would have to pay us for that 10-foot strip along the road. But there's a public utility easement under that property, and who's going to move that? There's nowhere to move it to. The road will never go that way.
So Joe, I will say this, and I'll stay clear, because I was part of the 3 visits that were on site, and Nanette was there at the last time. So I will tell you very, very clear, the goal was never moved. The only item that we asked was for the exotics to be removed. And then I questioned an area where the Brazilian peppers were. Staff went back there and realized that was waste management. They contacted them and had them cleaned. When I was with Vince and Nanette and your vendor, he did exactly what you guys asked him to do.
Which was what?
Exactly
What
the
he was
district-
told,
wait,
the district told him to do.
Finish. He did exactly what you guys asked him to do, which he then, Nanette, took his phone and said, this is the map that the HOA provided to me, which was not the track 14 map. It was a map that it had a line through it, and it said, this is the work. So honestly, your vendor is not at fault. We are not at fault, we never changed it. Whoever gave your vendor direction did not give B14, Nanette, was that what your vendor said to us? So we never changed it. So the miscommunication is between your HOA and your vendor by not giving them B14 track and say the track needs to be taken care of.
District people went out with our vendor
I
initially.
went out there with staff.
Were you there with Elle?
I was there with Elle.
And Elle told them what to do and where to do it?
All the way into the property line of B14, because that's what the board's direction. So Elle will speak on what the board's direction was. B14 as a track. And I don't know why, I'm not gonna speculate why your vendor had a different map, right, Nanette? And he did, I mean, I will go with your vendor, he did exactly what he was told. But when we sat there and Vince saw it and Nanette saw it, the fence line was some 10, 15, it was a lot. So it wasn't like it ever changed, it was always from day one, B14, exotics needs to be removed. and we're just looking at two different maps. I wish your vendor and the direction.
I don't know
you
why
give
the
me-
vendor wound
I
up with a
don't know
different
either.
map.
So
That I
just
can't
wanna make
comment
sure
on.
it's clear that we as a board and staff never changed it. And Annette was there, and I actually sided with your vendor, because I don't think he did a bad job. I think he did exactly what he was asked, because he was showing us this map that he had on his phone. He says, this is exactly what I did. Right, Annette? Okay.
Who'd the map come from?
I have no idea. That's between them. They can deal with that.
So the discussion is who's paying for the B14 track. So when
Yeah.
we decided, when the board took a vote on to get the B14 track to Gateway Services, that track, this is my opinion, that track was pure ownership of Stony Brook. We decided to give it to Gateway Services. We had our attorney working on the figures. You guys retained Tony to look at your guys' information to protect the district. In my opinion, I feel that the district should be covering that at 001 because it was Tony representing the district in regards to that property.
I don't think we're talking about Tony's fees here, are we? We're talking about Darren's.
No, we're talking about Tony's.
We're talking about Tony's fees.
Oh, Tony represents the district, then, yeah, you're right.
So this is my opinion.
Great.
Well, to me, this is, let me just jump in really quick. So to me, this is the same. It's
Yeah.
apples to apples from the road turnover. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
So regardless of who approached, so we approached Stony Brook in the road turnover, we're doing due diligence, there's fees associated. With track B14, Stony Brook approached us, we're doing due diligence, there's fees that are associated, and there's a mutual benefit on both sides. As a result of that mutual benefit, that's where my position is, we split that cost. Doesn't matter if Stony Brook at some point says, hey guys, we no longer have that deal on the table, we want to keep it. Same thing if we go through the road, we do all due diligence, and at the 9th hour, we say, hey guys, you know what? We're not gonna continue pursuing the road turnover to Stony Brook. We'd still be in for those fees. So to me, it's an apples to apples scenario. The point of the bullet point is who covers the attorney fees. I think it's a 50-50.
I would disagree.
Regardless of outcome.
We'll pick up Tony's, because I do agree that Tony had to review to see if it would be in the greater benefit of Gateway to take it over. So we take Tony's and they take their attorneys for
Correct.
B14. I think that's, will you guys have okay with that?
Yeah.
Make that motion and tell us?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
I'll make a motion. Do I have to make a motion on that one or no? That's.
I think
Well,
for
make
them,
that,
we need
yeah,
to.
make a motion for
I'll
us.
make a motion for Stony Brook to pay only the fees that Darren acquired during the B14 transaction, and Gateway Services covers Tony's fees under the 001.
That was a motion by JT Thomas, second by Todd Haffel.
Agree.
Any more discussion? Any all in favor?
Aye.
Not to convolute this,
And
but
so
then,
we didn't have any opposed, just for clarification. It was
Okay.
seven.
Because I look at this as a real estate.
JT, you got 9 minutes.
I need-
We're
I-
track, 9 minutes.
I have one point of
Yes.
clarification. Nanette, did you guys pay woods and wetlands out of the 004? Did you guys make reimbursement requests out of the 004? So that, well, they did come to the board at one of the meetings and made that request and the board approved it. So I just want to be clear for the record that we're paying Tony's fees on this, they're paying Darren's, but through the 004, it was paid by using
So
district
then we
funds to
just get a
clear.
reimbursement for that.
Can I make an objection? But since the 004 is strictly being paid by Stony Brook,
It's for private property, that's the difference. So technically,
Yeah.
yeah, so then, and to be truthful,
It has nothing to do, for this particular one, it has nothing to do with
Yeah,
it.
004 has nothing to do with
no,
it.
I agree.
Yeah,
so,
and I agree too.
Okay,
Did we
move,
pay the
next.
full amount for cleaning going forward,
9
or was it
minutes.
just part of it?
Okay,
Okay.
well, you guys had to take care of anyway, so there we go.
Yeah, well.
so that's water under the bridge, but for the
Okay.
record, I just want to be clear that
Well,
it
do
was,
you guys wanna make a motion so you guys don't have to go back, that you guys will take over? We
No,
already paid
because-
for
No,
it.
because it.
No.
But wait, you paid for out of 004, so it has to be reimbursed out of, that money has to go back to
We have to
004
make a motion,
account,
or
and
that's
you
something that
have.
we just
I,
have to do.
I would,
That's
I would
what we
like
gotta do.
I would like for you guys to make a motion.
I'll
so
make
we
a
don't have to talk
motion
about this.
for the HOA to reimburse Gateway Services 004. This is our money anyways.
Motion,
For the clearing of the waste wetlands,
Thank you.
or land wetlands.
second, Angela, so we got
who second,
JT
JT made the
Thomas
motion, who made the
Angela
second?
Sullivan second.
Angela Sullivan, any more discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7-0?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, Nanette, work through that with Laura, please.
yeah.
Okay, last order of business, we got 8 minutes. So the Stony Brook solely paying for legal counsel for restraining order information. This item came about, and I believe months ago, last November, October, we had a conversation here at this table talking about various Stony Brook items. Joe, you were there. I'm trying to remember who else was there. I think JT was there. Chris might have been there.
We recorded the meeting.
We recorded the meeting. Yes, we did.
We recorded that.
And what came of that was there were concerns raised by the Stony Brook access control vendor with regards to enforcement of restraining orders and vetting of people coming in, those people coming into the Stony Brook HOA.
Can I make a statement here? Our vendor, well, your vendor,
It's ours together.
wants to have a meeting with the district and Tony after April 1st.
Okay,
So
That's fine.
for
We can schedule that.
clarification on that and direction and
Okay.
written approval of how it could be handled.
so there, hold on, let me finish my spiel. So as a direct result of the access control vendor questioning how to handle restraining orders, district council had to review laws, statutes, etc., how to handle that and give direction and have a meeting with that access control vendor, specifically with regards to the gatehouse at Stony Brook. So that is what, go ahead, Tony.
But without getting into detail, because it's a
Yes,
sensitive topic, I'll put it that way.
yes.
It also, I think we may end up having a conversation about setting it for a separate building, because part of it also accrues to the benefit of Pelican Reserve. Because whatever the policy that I would recommend to the board would also apply to that gatehouse.
Okay,
So are we looking at splitting that?
I'm just telling you what, that, we need to have another conversation about that, because the only two gatehouses the district operates are in Stony Brook right now and in Pelican Reserve. So in my opinion, you can't have two policies that are different. They have to be the same policy. So
so then the suggestion would be to separate the billing 50/50 between Pelican Preserve and the 004.
yes.
Because both benefit.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a concern that I have personally, having to do with liability, potential liability and insurance coverage.
But you don't want to get into that
No,
conversation
okay.
right now? Like,
That's a
Joe,
separate
there's-
meeting.
so right now, it's.
I'm planting a seed for that
Okay.
next meeting.
So we
okay?
guys
You don't need to plant that seed
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so would you guys like to make a motion to take half of the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay half of the legal bills resulting in the request for the restraining order at Gatehouse,
What?
at Stony Brook and Pelican Preserve.
No, you're paying only half, and then Pelican Preserve paid out
Split
half.
between the 002 and the 004.
Yeah, because they benefit from our discussion.
Does that make sense?
Yes, okay.
And this is coming out of
And I said it
004?
right. 004 and 002.
So I'll second that.
Say it again.
So JT made the motion, Todd seconded the motion. Any more discussion?
Say the motion again, please.
We're splitting the legal bills for restraints, concerning the restraining
I gotta take out
orders
the 002 accounts.
for the gatehouses between the 002 fund and the 004.
As requested by Tony.
Yeah,
A suggestion.
as
Suggested.
suggested.
I don't want Pelican Preserve coming down.
Recommended.
Okay, I have one thing as a board president to make a statement, and I'd like to get this approved to meet some requirements that we have.
Do you have to call the vote first on this?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
Or this is comments.
Yes, I'm
Or
sorry.
this is your comments.
No, this is the Mike's different subject.
Okay,
All
call
in
the
favor
vote.
of that motion?
Call the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Any against?
Aye, sorry.
All unanimous.
Yeah, real quickly, what we try to do in the next 3 minutes, so we can adjourn on time, is that part of the ECO request, we are putting it in there that the Stony Brook and Gateway Master Association has adopted a resolution approving the submittal of this request.
Okay.
And so that's what Joe, I think.
I had submitted a brief writing and he had tweaked it and I'm going to read it, okay? As president of the Stony Brook and Gateway Master Homeowners Association, I, Joseph McCulca, move that the SBAGMA, a resolution approving the transmittal by the Gateway Services Community Development of a request for for the attached request for formal legal opinion concerning transferring district roads to a homeowners association. Does everybody hear that?
Well. Is this the first time I'm hearing
This is the first time you're hearing it.
that? That was my question.
Yeah, this is the first time you're hearing it. I did send something out to you, you may not
But
have
it was
recognized it. Yeah.
Different from that.
I'll do it one more time. As president of Stony Brook and Gateway Master Association Incorporated, I, Joseph McCulcum, move that the SBA GMA adopt a resolution approving the transmittal by the Gateway Services Community Development of the attached request for the formal legal opinion concerning district roads being turned over to the homeowners association.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We know what this is about. And this is a requirement by Tony, because the letter is, I believe, I don't know if it's 100% done yet?
Yes.
It is 100% done?
I got Katie Berkey's final comments.
Okay.
Yep.
And final forms,
And I don't have it, but I have read it with like 99% done.
We'll make the final
Discussion.
form available.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a minute.
Okay. Any more discussion? None? All in favor of
No,
doing
there's
this?
discussion.
I know, I asked, and you didn't say anything.
So, the cost, the final cost to the homeowner on this type of letter of proposal is what? What is the homeowner having to spend to take over the roads? Numbers.
What is the homeowner having to spend to take
This
over
is
the
just a
roads?
resolution.
To mail a
be sent
letter.
To the AGO.
Okay.
The Attorney General.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right.
And I need that to make a formal
Yes.
resolution.
You don't mind if I hand this over, Tony?
Oh,
All
no.
in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Unanimous, okay?
I make a motion to call meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Return time.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all good?
Well,
Thank you.
Nothing else? Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn the workshop, and can we please take a 5-minute break?
yes.
Who seconded?
15